All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We're going to go ahead and get started with the press conference. We're going to get started with Mayor Johnson to start us off. Thank you. And we will be taking limited questions after the statement. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everyone. I want to provide an official update to the people of El Paso regarding the FAA's decision to place a temporary flight restriction and then their decision to lift the temporary flight restriction over our city. This unnecessary decision has caused chaos and confusion in the El Paso community. I want to be very, very clear that this should have never happened. You cannot restrict airspace over a major city without coordinating with the city, the airport, the hospitals, the community leadership. That failure to communicate is unacceptable. These types of decisions have consequences. Medical evacuation flights were forced to divert to Las Cruces. All aviation operations were grounded, including emergency flights. This was a major and unnecessary disruption, one that has not occurred since 9/11. El Paso is not just a dot on a map. We are a major, major city. We are the sixth largest city in the state of Texas, and we are the 22nd largest city in the United States. Without hospital, military operations, and emergency services and critical infrastructures that depend on coordinated and reliable airspace operations. Decisions made without notice or coordination puts lives at risk and creates unnecessary danger and confusion. From the moment we learned about this, my office worked with Congresswoman Veronica Escobar, Major General Taylor at Fort Bliss, and our local, state, and federal partners to get answers and to push for this to be corrected and lifted, which it was. I appreciate those efforts. I also want to say thank you to the leadership across our community who came together to work through this problem. The city leadership, the El Paso Airport, and our federal and state partners. Your professionalism and dedication to public safety made a difference. El Paso deserves better. El Paso deserves better communication and better coordination and more respect for the El Paso and the people that live in this community. We will be following up with the FAA to make sure that this never happens again. In closing, I want to emphasize that El Paso has always been a safe city, and we will remain one of the safest cities in the United States. I'm going to turn it over to, who's next? Laura, who's next?
No, we're going to open it up to questions. We're going to open it up to questions. I will ask you, please wait till we get the microphone to you.
How many emergency medical flights or urgent critical flights were diverted because of this situation?
So I had a call this morning with some of the hospital operations. I don't know the exact number of flights, but I can tell you that there was a lot of surgical equipment that was coming in from Dallas and other parts of the country to do surgeries here in our community. That type of equipment did not show up here in El Paso.
What was the official reason given to you by which agency for the closure of the airport?
Yeah, so we're still determining the official reason, but I can tell you that the FAA was the primary agency that made the decision to shut down our airspace here over this community. So the official reason, we're still trying to get that answer of why it was closed down here in El Paso and southern New Mexico.
And you say there was no communication with the city. What does that communication look like when what the federal government says was a security threat? What would that communication look like?
Yeah, I think at the very least that communication looks like calling the city, calling our chief of police, calling the public safety officers that we have in our community to alert them that we're going to be shutting down your airspace in your community. None of that took place. So we woke up, just like many of you, at midnight last night, 1 in the morning, to the texts and the calls that we received that our airspace was shut down. So better communication from our federal government to your city, especially your leadership, that you're going to shut down your airspace. That coordination, that communication just did not happen.
You were talking about not letting FAA do this again in any near future or anything without communication. Is there anything that, I don't want to say they can face, but that El Paso is doing for them to know that they can't just like close the aerial space?
Well, I think, certainly that we've got to look into this more and find out what happened, what caused this to occur. This is certainly something that the FAA needs to look at themselves and figure out what did they do and how can they improve to make this better. Because you just cannot, again, we're a major city. El Paso's a large city. You cannot just shut down a city. There was people coming to El Paso. Our airport was in chaos. Our community was scared. All because someone decided to shut down our airspace. You just cannot do that. And they lifted it real quick. So we've got to figure out what the root cause of that problem was.
What kind of financial implications could this have had for the city, for the airport, for travel in general, being potentially shut down for 10 days? And do you know what kind of impact it had in the hours that it was shut down?
Yeah, I'm sure it's significant. I'm sure that number is large, and it's one of them numbers you may not ever be able to quantify. You look at the travelers that were stuck at our El Paso International Airport. They had to spend money, those that could get a rent-a-car, to get out of El Paso. So that cost them money. You look at some of the business deals that were going to take place today here in our community that just may not happen. So we don't know the complete impact. I've had friends that have texted from Dallas, Texas, that were trying to get rent-a-cars to get back here to our community. I don't know what that number is, but I can tell you it's going to be large.
There were some reports on CNN that one of the reasons was cartels flying drones over airport space or in the vicinity. Is there any truth to that?
Let me turn that over to the chief or to someone else to better answer this.
Thank you, Mayor. So your question on drones, that's just been reported. We have not been notified of anything. That's just rumor that we're hearing, the chatter. As the mayor talked about, there's been no official determination put out to us on why it was closed down, so we won't speculate on any of those.
And did the airport, can the airport be closed without your approval, Mayor, or does that have to go through you and you have to give the yes or no on that?
So I've never closed the airport. Again, I've been here a little bit, 13 months. So we've never closed the airport since 9/11. So again, the FAA is the one that shut down the airspace, which ultimately closed our airport. So our airport is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So the answer to that is probably no. I would never close down the airport unless there is a national security threat against this community. So no, we wouldn't close the airport for something like it. And I will touch on your drone question. There's probably been drones ever since they've been started flying in this community. So that's not nothing new. So a drone shutting down our airspace, we've got to get better than this.
And so you were unaware that the airport was going to be closed?
So was I unaware that, so just like many of us in this room, we've got the same alert from the FAA that they were shutting down our airspace. Yes, so to say that I was aware of this, if I was aware of this, first thing I would have done is had a press conference with this community to say, we're shutting down the airspace. So we did not know that it was going to be shut down.
Hi, Mayor. Isabel Chavez with Univision. I know you mentioned El Paso is not only a dot. We have the border. We also have Fort Bliss. What is the next step as leaders to get the information of what happened and to get better communication because, like you said, it affected citizens, but we also have the border and the forklifts, which a lot of people might think we could be a target since we have the base. What message do you have for the community?
Yeah, so we're going to continue to reach out to our state and federal partners. We'll continue to reach out to the Congresswoman's office to make sure that we have information on what happened. I want to thank our Fort Bliss partners too. I was on the phone not only with our Congresswoman, but with Major General Taylor this morning. And we will make sure that we continue to communicate. And that's what the leadership did in this community. We came together to figure out what was going on. Like many of you in this room, we learned about it the same way. It was something where they shut down our airspace. So we did not know that until we were playing defense at that point. So once we figured out what was going on, the leadership came together to communicate, and we'll continue to do that.
Do you think there will be a true answer to why this happened?
I hope so.
I'll repeat the question. Do you think that there will be a true, honest answer about why the government chose to shut down the airport?
I sure hope so, and I can tell you El Paso deserves better. We deserve to know why our airport was shut down. It's unacceptable. So I hope we get that answer.
Last question, Kibbe.
And do you feel that El Paso has just been overlooked by the federal government? Do you think it's because that we are a border community that we weren't notified, that they just shut down the airspace?
Yeah, I don't know that for fact, but I can tell you that, you know, whatever information they had that shut down our airspace is something that should have been shared with this leadership. That is the piece of information we don't have. And once we get that, we can let the citizens know why they shut it down. So just like many of you, there's a lot of unanswered questions that we just don't have. I also want to thank the media that's in this room. A lot of you were at the airport. A lot of you were working hours this morning and working with the guests that were stuck in our community. And thank you for what you did there. It appeared that everyone was helping each other. So that's what this community does. We come together to help each other.
Thank you, Ron.
All right, thank you guys.